Welcome to What Makes You Tick Best Bits. We take the best bits of our episodes and in less than 20 minutes give you a masterclass to enjoy every Sunday. Last week, we talked about how AI and hiring is dehumanizing the process and making it terrible because it's been used in the wrong place. But James Smith, for the SVP for EMEA for ThoughtSpot, is using it in a very different way, which is to 10x sales productivity. It's a quest, it's a journey. He'll tell you he's only 2% done, but this is the origin story of how that plan came to be. Enjoy this episode. If you like it, we'll put a link to the full episode in the show notes. This is not one to be missed. If you want to improve sales productivity with AE as a sales leader, as a company, or as a rep, this is a masterclass. Enjoy.
I was on an aeroplane to Spain with the family, actually, and I've got 2 young children, and both of them were asleep. So I pulled out a piece of paper and just started writing down what are all the tasks that all of our sales team do, and I came up with like 30 different things that they do, and then I built them into kind of a process, and then mapped them across these sort of levers in our business, and basically figured out there's a whole bunch of stuff that they did that was very manual, that wasn't customer facing, and actually. Probably the same with every organization. I'd love my team to spend more time in front of customers. And actually, if all they did every day was be at the point of execution with the customer, and then everything else behind the scenes was automated, and we used a bunch of agents in order to get rid of all that manual work, and all they did was focus on the customer, yeah, that's where we'd start step changing our productivity. So basically what I did was I mapped out the process of in each one of those levers, and then went back to kind of first principles thinking about how would we do this with AI, and basically came up with a whole bunch of agents and automation that we can go and build, that will help us that will help us step change our productivity. And then started layering on, okay, well, what tooling do you need to do that, and what tooling do we have, and then what might have the biggest impact versus the ease of implementation, because some of this stuff will be actually pretty easy to implement, some of this stuff will be really hard, and you probably came up with like 20 agents we want to go and build. If we can go build the first 3, what's the impact of that going to be? um and so I did a whole bunch of stuff like that, still in very much like hypothesis mode, I guess, sort of theory mode. And then actually I went back to my CEO and said, look, I've done a bunch of thinking. I actually think that your 10x thing we can do. And he said, cool, go do a bit of it. And he pointed me in the direction of our VP of product that leads all of our AI capability in our product. Great guy. And then so I had a session with him, and he said, look, go build some stuff. Like you're in the theory world, which is great. Go build some stuff. So very similar to what you said earlier on around the introduction that you got, and you're going to go build your first agent. I went and did that. I went and downloaded a trial of a software product and entered a bunch of stuff that I wanted to do, and it was all around this. It was all around this ICP thing, around like how would I get high intent account signals from accounts that fit in our bullseye ICP. How do I figure out when they're ready to buy? And there's a whole bunch of signals that we can get from LinkedIn posts and Reddit posts and G2 reviews and things like that. And how would I get those signals to really flag when an account is ready to buy, and then automate that through into our top of our funnel? So I built an agent, and that was a real eye-opening moment, because I was like, oh wow, I can build an agent. James Smith with no technical skill can, and just a big mouth, can go and build an agent. And that's that was again like a real eye-opening moment around, oh right, this stuff is possible. All we need is like the time to go do it, and we can actually step change this stuff here. So that was a real eye-opening moment as well. So yeah, that's kind of the process we've gone through. We've actually built a couple of agents. We built our first agent that I built. There's then one of our account managers then built a voice agent that he'd been thinking about, and sort of launched that. And then we're going through a process. We're at the start of our financial year, so we're now going through a process of doing a bunch of in the next couple of weeks, going to do a bunch of hackathons to get the sales team hands on with this and go through that sort of journey that I've been on. Realize that they too can build some of this stuff, and then obviously going through the process with our ops team about, like, what resource do we need and how do we spin up a team to actually go and build a bunch of automation across our systems and build a bunch of these agents and start doing it in a bit more of a productionized manner rather than just a few salespeople fiddling around with a bunch of stuff.
Yeah, I love it. So you've been vibe coding. How does it
Yeah.
feel?
Again, really empowering. Like, really empowering. It's like, oh, this isn't just for, people with PhDs. And I guess it's a similar journey that I've been on with data in my life. Like, for most people, especially 15 years ago when I entered the market, analyzing data was for people with PhDs and data scientists. And my whole career has been about how do I bring that experience to, Joe or Jane blogs in your business, who is a marketing manager or a sales AE, and they want to use data to make better decisions. That's been what my career's been about how do we lower the barrier to entry? How do we make it easier? And I really feel I think that's why it's so empowering for me with AI, is because I think that's what AI does for a bunch of stuff that I didn't think was possible around, like, building systems and building websites and all the stuff that you can now use AI for. It's all about that. Used to be you had to be a developer and you had to have computer science skills, and it's all about lowering the barrier to entry for people without technical skills, and that inspires me and gets me pretty passionate.
Yeah, 100% right. I think it's fascinating, isn't it? It's like we had, again, Jacob Warwick came on the podcast and he said AI is underhyped. And it was like he loves saying contrarian things, but I was like, really? And in our tech bubble, it's all you see, right? And it's all people really talk about. But how much are they actually using it for its true capabilities versus they're still using it the way they were a year ago for sort of, just some of the tasks that they do. And we're really happy with it because suddenly, what used to take me a day to write up in terms of like all this proposal notes and stuff is now, 5 minutes. And I've trained my GPT and it sounds a bit like me and all that sort of stuff. Is are we fundamentally asking the question, like, how can this help to completely revolutionize the way that we're working or completely innovate this thing or go and give me way more of what I actually want to go and be doing and delete all this stuff that I don't want to be doing. So this whole like vibe coding thing, I do believe that probably, I don't know what percentage of people in your business, maybe it's a good question for me to ask, but like if you think about your organization today, how many people are already vibe coding their own capabilities in AI?
I think it's a really small percentage. I think it's a really small percentage. I think lots of people are playing lip service. And I think this is the same. This isn't. It's across all business, all organisations. I think there's a lot of lip service to, oh yeah, look at all these capabilities, and isn't this great? I think there's a handful of people that have really picked it up, and are taking it to the next level. And I, I've kind of, as I've gone on this journey, I've kind of been, speaking to a bunch of peers about, like, what are you doing? Like, trying to borrow some of their ideas, really. And there are a couple of people doing some interesting things, but the general feedback that I get is that people are sleeping on AI. People are really sleeping on the capability, and what it can do. And I really think that, again, people have sort of said, what do I do today and how can AI kind of help that? So I create presentations. How can AI help that? I actually think, like, yes, there is a whole bunch of efficiency gains there, but it's the effectiveness gains where the real step changes come from. And that's where you've got to really do some deep thinking about, okay, here's what we do today. What could it look like if I reimagined that? And that takes some thinking and some time to do, and then some time to figure out how you do it and how you actually go and implement it.
Yeah, it's yeah. I mean, I'm literally in the middle of that right now, so I can really empathize with it. But it's like I'm going right. I've got a session with Justin, but remind me to send you Justin Parnell's YouTube channel because he's got a session on vibe coding, which would be really good for you to roll out with your team. I'll maybe put it in the show notes of this podcast. But I'm going right. Well, I've got this possibility now. I'm going to have like one of the world's best experts helping me to build an AI agent. Wow, what does that look like? And I've gone through this whole process working with like my podcast co-host and my wife and a couple of other friends to say, what do you think I should build? You know, and everyone has a different idea. And I've got lots of different ideas. And I think it comes back to this principle, which is if you ask the question, how can we 2x? How can we grow by, let's say, 20, 30%? You get so many answers that it obviously isn't a very good question. Because if you get limitless opportunities and options that you could do, it's not focusing our mind and it's not separating the signal from the noise. Whereas if you ask the question, what would an AI agent or app that means that we 10x our productivity, maybe 10x our reach, 10x our average order value, 10x our win rate, 10x our number of new meetings? The amount of opportunities and options that would actually go and achieve that goal will be way smaller, way smaller. So I think that maybe it's a lesson, or certainly a lesson that I only had this like three days ago. But is if when you're asking the question, what can I use AI for? You're getting unlimited possibilities. Change the question to be something bigger. And I just wonder when you're thinking about how to utilize AI in your business, is there like a guiding set of questions or a way that you're thinking about how we use AI that would be useful for people to like get inside your head so they can bring some of that into their thinking?
Yeah. But by the way, coming back to something you said, I always think it's a really good barometer of an idea if you're going to check with your wife and talk to your wife about it when you when you come home. I've got this thing at work that like, what do you think I should do? I always think that's my barometer anyway. If I'm talking to my wife about it, it means I'm excited by it. And you certainly heard me wax lyrical about AI and 10xing over the last couple of months.
When she's speaking to her friends, what does he do? Something about 10xing productivity through AI. I don't really understand it, but
Yeah, yeah,
she's really
yeah,
excited.
yeah. So the questions. So again, I think it's all about um trying to facilitate that um kind of first principles thinking, but like process engineering around, when someone does come up with an idea, it's about, okay, good idea, but let's take a step back. How would that fit into what's your process today? Talk to me about the time, effort, effectiveness you have in that process. And does that idea 10x any either your efficiency or your effectiveness? Or is it something that's 10% better than you're doing today? And so it's always about trying to trying to get them to think about to reverse engineer what they're doing today. Because a lot of people just do what they do today, whether it be solution engineering or customer success or salespeople. Like, I wake up, try and get a list of accounts that I should be picking up the phone to. I find some people on LinkedIn, I write some emails, I send them out, and it's almost you through into the automation of your job, um, and actually taking people to stop what they're doing and think about their process as a process, and re-engineering that to where can I get the most leverage? Where's the thing that I'm doing that I can remove as much today, and how can that get me the most leverage that I can? There was a quote I was listening to one of the podcasts. So one of the people who's really stretching the boundary on this is a guy called Kyle Norton. He's the chief revenue officer of a company called Owner.com, and any of his content is like excellent. And he was talking about a quote that was AI has removed the value of 99% of the things that I do today because it can just automate it. But it is 100x the value of the 1% that's left over. Because that 1% that's left over is the thing that is the real differentiator. And that's the thing I can build leverage on. And the real thing that struck me in there was like I've got as I say, I've got a brilliant team, they're awesome when they're in front of customers. Like, we have a really good sales process and a really good proof of value process that leads to like awesome results for customers. And when we're in that moment, engaging on that thing, our sales team and our go-to-market team are superb. But how do I get them spending all their time there? How do I get, my sales team, they wake up and instead of having to go and find the people to pick up the phone to and write the messaging and things like that, how do they wake up and they've already got 6 meetings in their diary with highly engaged prospects that are the right time to buy? If I can achieve that, I truly believe we'll whether we'll get to 10x, that might get us to 5x, but that would really step change the experience that they've got today. And so I think it's about trying to get people to reimagine what a world could look like and what the possibilities could be if AI was automating all the stuff that isn't the bit where they add the most value, and then using AI to leverage to like build as much leverage as you can in that area. So it's about helping people take that step back and do that thinking, and it's amazing to see those cogs turning when they do, because generally the first idea will be that'll make us 10% more effective, and then once you get them to take the step back, like, you quickly get to ideas that really can help you 2x, 3x, 4x.
Thank you for listening and watching this Best Bits short. If you like this, tune in next Sunday for our next special part of our favorite episodes. And if you love the main podcast, every Thursday we introduce you to a new virtual mentor so you can hear their career story and answers to the biggest questions in tech. See you on the next episode.